I'm just going to share some logistical info. Which thank you very much, George. That cup of coffee looks very nice. I have to admit, my tea is tasting equally nice at the moment. It's warming me up, unfortunately from the top down, but I need some warmth from the bottom up as well. Feet's chilly this morning. Cape Town is definitely safely negotiated a change of season. We're definitely in the start of winter now. Anyway, can't do anything about the weather. We can just work with it like anything else, like load shedding and anything else. We just make the best of it every day. The logistical issues I want to get out the way is I know that based on emails that we have received from our academic heads, is that I think either yesterday at some point or today, you'll get correspondence from Stadio about your exam timetable. I think, stand to be corrected, but I'm pretty sure that business marketing is done as an online quiz, 3-hour online quiz of 100 marks, and that's on the 28th of June. And again, as I said previously, it's going to be similar to the one that you wrote recently as your formal test, and it will be available the whole day. We'll talk about that in greater detail when we do our revision, which is the week prior to you going on study leave to prepare for all your tests and exams. That out the way, where we left off last week, when you were all in a rather anxious state because of all the assignments that you had to complete, and I trust that everything went well. You are welcome, obviously, to mail me. I've spoken before the start of the class to Kyle about your assignment that's due next week. Next week, Thursday, I think, the 3rd of June. But if there's any questions that you have, please, you can ask me anytime about that. Or if you don't want to do it on during a live session or online session, you can actually email me as well. Okay. What we've started with on Friday is in this particular chapter, and it deals with our marketing channels. In other words, how are the products that we offer our customers, how does that get from the manufacturer to us, the retailers? Because it's not like it has been in the past, many years ago. Well, it seems like many years ago, but for me, it seems rather real, because I think in the 70s, when I was in primary school, I know my mother once a week went to buy our milk from a dairy farmer. We literally went to their shop on the farm. Now a lot of things have fortunately since then improved. Makes it easier for us, very convenient as consumers, to just go to a closer shop and buy whatever we need. But still, for that to happen, like we have seen in our previous session on Friday, we need to, or there are certain intermediaries, parties involved in the whole process of ensuring that those products go through a proper channel of distribution, which is the same as a marketing channel, to get the products to the consumer where they want it most conveniently located close to them. Now, a marketing channel, because of the different parties or intermediaries involved in or that can be involved in a channel, and we'll look at the different channel structures just now, have 3 specific functions that they fulfill. It could be transactional, logistical, or just to facilitate. Often depending on the structure of the distribution channel, a particular intermediary can fulfill all three roles. The transactional role has more to do with you as the intermediary going to the manufacturer, negotiating, sitting down with them, encouraging them to buy more stock, offering them discounts, because you're obviously taking the risk, but you are involved in that whole process. You're negotiating to obtain the products, and then obviously you're involved with the retail side of it as well, where you negotiate certain financial agreements with them, maybe give them a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day credit. Those are all part of a function that an intermediary in a distribution channel can fulfill. And then logistically, obviously, it's to then collect those items, to collect those orders. In other words, for instance, you go to a Pick and Pay, and you ask them how much of a particular product they want. Most of it is done electronically, as we'll see later in the chapter. They place the order for specific products. It's logged into the system. You negotiate certain terms regarding how they are going to pay you. You make sure that you now go to the manufacturers of those products that they need, negotiate with them on the terms that you, as Pick and Pay, would be required to pay your debt to them. You collect the items, you put it in the warehouse, you store it, you sort it according to the different product categories, and you actually do the physical distribution by getting it in the trucks and getting the delivery to the retail. So that's the entire process where there's one intermediary involved that can fulfill and has the capacity and is financially strong enough to actually fulfill all those functions. But let's look at the different types of channel structures, distribution channel structures that is available. And we're not going to go into great detail about it. We're just going to be looking at some examples of what each of these different structures entail. And at the hand of examples, we are going to try and explain what these different structures or how these different structures are made up. We can have a direct channel. That's where the producer or the manufacturer or the consumer gets their products directly from the manufacturer or producer. It could be, for instance, examples that I can think of is Outsurance. There's no other people involved. If you want insurance from Outsurance, you contact them directly, phone the 086 number, and somebody at Outsurance will talk to you about the product that's available, and negotiate which one is best suited for you, and you do business. That would be a service. But then also for products, for instance, you're going straight to the farm, or you are shopping from a farmer directly. You may be traveling, you may be on holiday, maybe on business. You stop at a farm store and you actually buy the products there. You can actually just drive 20 kilometers further and buy it from the shop. But while you're there, those products that the farmer has in his or her shop there on the farm next to the road is another example of the consumer getting the products directly from the manufacturer or the producer. Then you have a retail channel. Retail channel, for instance, example could be car dealerships. VW Tigerberg or VW Montana or VW Rustenburg are all retailers who sell VW models, the full range. They get their vehicles straight from VW South Africa, who's the producer or the manufacturer of those products. And you as the consumer will not buy it from VW South Africa, you'll buy it from your closest VW retailer. in the area that you stay. A more complicated one is probably the one on the right hand side, where there's agents and brokers involved. The distribution channel with all those parties or intermediaries involved would be, for instance, food brokers. If you're a food broker, you basically are putting the wholesaler and the producer in contact with each other. You act between the producer or the manufacturer and the wholesaler as the agent who represents many, many producers. That's usually a case where there's many producers. There's many farmers who have who farm with wheat and have produce that they can offer. A broker would get involved, and the broker would act as an agent to negotiate between all the different manufacturers or producers and the wholesalers. When that process is done, the broker itself doesn't take ownership of those products. They just fulfill a function of negotiation and managing the relationship between those two parties, the producer and the wholesaler. For the rest of it, the channel is exactly the same as the wholesale channel, where, for instance, Cadbury's are manufacturers of chocolates and a variety of chocolates and other products. They will supply that to a wholesaler, but that wholesaler is not going to just stock Cadbury's products. They're also going to stock Nestle products. They're also going to stock other products in the similar product category, or in this product category that I've used as an example. And you, as the and they will then, or the retailers will then approach them, the wholesalers, and get the products from them, so you as the consumer can get it from the retail outlet. Those are just structures. The way that it's quite popularly assessed in an exam, for instance, is where we provide you with a case study. We sketch a certain scenario for you, and we want you to identify which market structure or distribution structure is represented by that particular example. Or we provide you with the image like that and a case study, and we want you to then populate the blocks and say which of the intermediaries that we have listed fits into which block. For instance, if I can go back on my slides and we go back to that first one, I would say, right, in this particular case of the retail channel, or we give you different options, we give you both. We give you intermediaries like VW, like VW Belleville or Tygerberg or Cape Town. We give you Joe Soap as the consumer, and we want you then to put those different intermediaries in the correct position. In other words, are they the producer, the retailer, or the consumer? Okay, that's just a way in which these different marketing channels can be assessed in a test or an exam. Now, since the progression through technology, a lot of these business a lot of these distribution structures that we've just managed have sort of become not unnecessary anymore, but more and more nowadays, and especially if you can think back to the early days of lockdown last year, where traveling was limited to a large extent, but people still had to go to shops. Immediately, online shopping became very popular, even for goods that you usually would obtain directly from a retailer, like a Spar, a Pick n Pay, or a Checkers supermarket. Those groups all now started offering. Some of them even did it before that, before COVID, but they started offering delivery options as well to you, home delivery options. So you can order your products and it's delivered to your home, and that's more and more common nowadays. I think as technology progresses, as more people become more comfortable with doing this type of shopping, because initially I think the greatest reservations were security and reliability. But the more and more you use the service, and you realize, but you know what, it is actually quite um, a convenient way of doing things, especially because it almost feels as if our time is more and more restricted every day, every week, every year. And I sometimes I couldn't understand why, for instance, people will book a 2,000 rand plane ticket via the website of the airline, in other words, online. But they're not interested in doing. They're not interested in and buying certain retail or certain household goods online, like for instance, take groceries for that matter, or they are prepared to have a home delivery, use the home delivery service of a of Mr. Food, for instance, but they don't want to engage in a transaction online to book a airline ticket, for instance. The principle is exactly the same. Regardless, there are two aspects about internet, the internet form of distribution, and that is that we find that there's a disintermediation, which means that certain components of the channel is now replaced. Like especially it has happened now with especially now as it has happened with the increase in online shopping. And then we have a re-intermediation as well, where new channel members are introduced to a particular distribution channel. The best example I could find was that you could either do your shopping, and this is where certain functions are replaced in the process. This refers to disintermediation, is where you book online by going directly to the website of a particular airline, and you're not using a travel agent. On the other hand, you can also have a re-intermediation, and that is where you are actually using the services of a travel agent, because you also need assistance with visa applications and those kind of documentations for international travel, maybe. And you can't do that by going online, or that functions are not available via the website of a particular airline, for that matter. So you'd rather use a one-stop option like an agent who can assist you with those other functions as well, like the required documentation, visa applications, maybe even accommodation recommendations and stuff like that, which is not always the case if you go online to book online on the website of an airline, because they predominantly only focus on trying to sell a ticket to get you on a plane. There are alternative channels as well, where basically we can find a combination of these distribution options that's available. Apology, my throat was getting dry, so I'm just taking a sip of tea there. Your multiple channels is where there's more than one channel available. It could be that there's an option that provides you, like Verimark, for instance. You can go onto the website, you can actually order directly from their website and get it delivered like that. But they also have retail shops available in shopping malls, so you can also go directly to the shop. You don't have to go to via the internet, for instance. Your non-traditional channels, the ones that we have already expressed in the form of examples, are internet, people doing mail orders, and then obviously farmers markets, quite popular. And then very, very popular and very lucrative for both parties involved in such a strategic alliance is that you can go to a Starbucks and you can buy the Starbucks products that they offer. But then Starbucks also have gone into an alliance, distribution alliance with United Airlines. So the coffee that you get when you're on a United Airlines flight would be Starbucks coffee. Okay, so it's just another way for them distributing their products to the customers, apart from just the traditional way of going to the Starbucks shop. I know that reverse channels is also, just to, at the hand of an example, explain to you what that is where you go to a retailer, like maybe a Toyota dealership, and you buy your car there. But part of the deal is that there is a service plan involved, which means that you take your vehicle back to the dealership when it needs to be serviced, and they will then service the vehicle as well. So that's you as the customer going, let's basically say, upstream back to the retailer that you bought the vehicle from in the first place, because that's part of the extra service that they offer. Okay. There are a few factors that can influence the strategies that businesses decide on as to which particular channel do you have or is best for our business. There are specific factors that have to be considered and taken into consideration. The factors that affect your choice of a channel could be the market factors, it could be the product or the producer factors. The market factors specifically, the marketing factors specifically refer to the size of the market, for instance. If it's a bigger market, in other words, the products are available over a wider geographical area, then obviously your distribution channel that you'll take is going to be a bigger one. It's going to be sort of a more intensive distribution, because you are competing with a lot of other businesses in the same industry, and also in different locations geographically. The product factors that you can consider or should be considered is where in the product life cycle does this product find itself. Initially, when you do need to have a lot of, or when you're trying to penetrate a market, you're going to try and implement intensive distribution or using your strategy is going to be a very intensive distribution strategy, because you want to get your product to as many possible venues to be distributed from. Once the market is established, you can maybe just limit it and maybe apply a selective distribution strategy where it's only available in certain areas, for instance. It depends on your production cost, and also if a product is more expensive and exclusive, you will find that the distribution channel required there is going to be a much shorter one, where if it's a standardized product, there's more intermediaries involved, because it's a product that you will get from any possible shop. Furthermore, the producers on factors that related to the producer or the manufacturer depends on if the producer or the manufacturer have the financial capacity and resources to be able to offer all these functions of placing the order, taking the order, distributing the products, warehousing the products, the packaging, the labeling of all those functions. If the producer or the manufacturer has the financial capacity and resources to do that, they are more than likely going to take that particular approach. If you take those aspects in consideration, the level of distribution intensity referred to 3 levels of intensity. A very intensive distribution, that's where you want to have your product available at almost every single shop that will take your product and offer it to the customers. So you are going to use a very intensive distribution strategy because you want to have maximum market coverage. You can become more selective if your capacity of your business, referring to the block on the left-hand side, right at the bottom, if your capacity as a manufacturer producer does not allow you to operate, let's say, for instance, if it's in South Africa, in every province, you just do not have the capacity to have a presence in all the provinces. You're going to be selective and you're going to be offering it only in certain regions. It could also be that that you decide to go national and that you will have a presence in each province, but it will not be available at every supermarket outlet in or throughout the province. It will be in selective stores. For instance, often Pick n Pay uses that. If they run certain specials, they will tell you it's not available at a normal Pick n Pay or a Pick n Pay Express. It's only available at a Pick n Pay hypermarket, for instance. So it's selectively at certain stores in the group. Exclusive distribution refers to specifically specialty products. Expensive or ultra expensive items like Lamborghinis and Ferraris, they are going to exclusively distribute through a particular business structure that have been established in a particular country. You won't find that there's a Lamborghini dealership in every town in South Africa. You'll probably find that at VW and Toyota and Nissan and Opel and all of these are probably well represented in every region, in every city. But when it comes to exclusive specialty items like this, and then obviously jewelry as well, you won't find that you can buy these items from a large number of outlets in a particular country, for instance. Just to summarize and to, in the form of an illustration, indicate to you your different levels of distribution. If it's an exclusive distribution, from the examples that I've shown with you, you will definitely have fewer outlets. That's the one right at the bottom on the previous slide, Lamborghini and Porsche and those very expensive specialty items. And then if it's an intensive distribution where you're going for maximum market coverage, there will be more outlets. Almost every single one that is available, you want access to. Excuse me, I'm just going to try. I see there's a call coming in. I just want to switch my phone off so it doesn't disrupt us. Right. Now, physical distribution at the end of the day is still the one that most of us, I think, are probably aware of, because we see the delivery trucks on the roads when we're traveling, and basically physical distribution is what allows us to just drive or walk to the closest shop and get the products, but somebody has to physically, from the manufacturer or from the wholesaler, get those products onto those shelves so you can have access to it. Now, therefore, we can, in summary, we can define physical distribution as all the activities of businesses that's concerned with stocking the products, transporting the products and materials or parts of them, the finished inventory, so they can arrive at the right place when they need it and in a usable condition, so it can meet the satisfaction of the customer. Sometimes parts of a product, of a complete product that you'll find, is distributed from a specific supplier or manufacturer. Different parts come from another manufacturer. It is assembled in a particular wholesale scenario, and the end product you will then get You don't have to go to, let's say, for instance, you're buying a vacuum cleaner. You're going to Macro to buy a vacuum cleaner. You don't have to go to Macro to buy the vacuum cleaner, and then you have to go to a different shop to buy all the hoses that comes and the fittings that come with a vacuum cleaner. The complete total product has been is provided by the wholesaler in this case, like Macro, but it could be at the retailer, and you don't have to go to those different places to buy the items that will make your product the complete product in the form that you needed to satisfy your need. Right. Logistics refer to the process that in physical distribution that include the procurement and managing of raw materials and different components and parts for production. For instance, in the Eastern Cape, we've got our VW factory, where for instance, the Polo is produced or manufactured. VW, for instance, because they give you the customer an option in what color they want the vehicle, what kind of texture the seating must be. Is it cloth or is it leather? All those kind of options that you can select in addition to what the base model will offer you is not necessarily done at the same place. It might be in the same town, but at different venues. For instance, the base product is manufactured at one particular place. They have 50 that they manufacture today. Those 50 go to an outlet where they are spray painted, or where all these specific requirements are fitted according to this the customer's choices. That's just an idea of some of the logistics that's involved. Now, distribution has some subsystems, and these subsystems include the following. This is physical distribution. For a product to be physically distributed from manufacturer to eventually the retailer where you as a consumer can buy it, it needs to be kept somewhere in a warehouse. The materials need to be handled and packaged. There must be inventory control. Ordering process needs to be completed, and it actually has to physically be transported from point A to point B. Let's look at each of these individually. Let me just interrupt myself here. Any questions at this point by any of you? We all okay still with distribution channels? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Letitia. Let's see what happens in the warehouse. Whereas from the image in the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you will see, and you will probably know, because maybe you've seen or been in a warehouse. Maybe some of your parents are involved in businesses where that they work in this particular environment. But the warehouse is pretty much where the products are stored until they are shipped. Right, they're kept there until Coca-Cola, for instance. Coca-Cola would manufacture the different brands and use different bottling outlets for that. They will then collect all the different products in their range from the different bottling companies, and they will store it in cold storage in their warehouse until the orders come in from the different wholesalers or retailers, and then they will get their cool trucks in, and they will ship it out to the particular outlets based on that order. So in a warehouse, we will handle the actual products. Sometimes if it, let's say for instance, it's from different locations. Let's say for instance, Coca-Cola has Fanta, and they've got Sprite, and they've got Coke. It's all products, and they have got Powerade and everything. Now, an order comes in from a retailer that says we want 10 crates of Powerade, 5 crates of Coca-Cola, 3 crates of Sprite. Now, that inventory, that as it was brought into the warehouse, is locked into the system. It's all done electronically because automatic identification through barcoding is part of what happens in that process. And now these quantities, as they were required, is actually then packaged and loaded onto a particular truck to be distributed to that particular outlet that has placed the order. So inventory control and just-in-time stock management, we'll have a look at on the next slide, because inventory control nowadays is done very efficiently through electronically. You don't find too many people in warehouses walking around with clipboards and ticking off stock. I can remember many years ago, most of us at some point maybe have worked as waiters and later became managers in particular restaurants and places like that. And it was literally, here's the clipboard, there's the list of stock, this is what it should be, or you tick off what it is, and that's how the process works. But everything is done electronically nowadays. They scan things and immediately can pick up, and they know exactly how much they have in stock, or if a particular product is in stock or not. Just-in-time inventory referred to a specific inventory management system that ensures that the cost, because to keep a product in a warehouse until the wholesaler or a retailer needs it is costly. Because I mean, you can't warehousing. This is not a you don't keep the stuff in an ordinary single or double size garage kind of environment. It's much bigger. In many cases, and I think like in previous examples that I've used, I think at the start of this chapter, I think Pick and Pay in South Africa, also ShopRite in South Africa, their warehousing capacity alone equals the size of about 100 rugby fields, which is substantial. So you need space, and that comes at a cost. So if you have, and it's become very popular. It was originally used in Japan, and it only works in certain cases where obviously the areas that you need to distribute the products to is rather close to each other. That is to ensure that you keep just enough in stock that you have available to immediately address the need as it arises. You're not going to produce 100 units if currently you only have 80 orders. You'll ensure that you have the capacity to produce 100, but you'll only, if the order was for 80, you will only have 80 units in your warehouse and distribute them as they basically come in. It's distributed, so no excess stock is kept, and therefore very often it reduces the warehousing cost a great deal in the whole distribution process. The majority of your orders nowadays, as I said, is done electronically through electronic data interchange, or EDI as they call it in the industry. And that is to ensure that the communication, the success of using this system is highly dependent on how well the communication is between the warehouse and the retail outlets. We will be able to provide you with the products, but we can only provide you with the products if you communicate with us. You can't say, but oh, I mean, yeah, but it got lost in the system or whatever. You know what? Somebody is managing the system at some point. So proper communication, and that is the responsibility to a great extent in the retail outlet of the managers to ensure that they regularly check their stock and do not run out of. It's done on a daily basis nowadays, because of the capacity of businesses to get stock almost immediately if they run out. Transportation, there are different forms of transportation or different modes. Popular ones, depending again in this case on the nature of the product that you are distributing. You're probably not going to take the slowest mode of transport to get to distribute products that have a shelf life. You need to get them, transport them in a cool environment, obviously the cooler trucks for that matter, and they have to get to their destination in time. So depending on what particular product you are distributing, you will choose the appropriate mode of transport. Transport, when you make your selections of which mode, you will consider those elements that I've highlighted on the screen. Criteria like the cost, for instance, the accessibility, the capability, the reliability, especially of your distributors. Can they get the products consistently delivered to where it needs to be on time and in a condition that the customer needs it? Are they reliable? If we load 20 pallets, we want 20 pallets of products that we can immediately sell when we receive them. We don't want 18 or 2 pallets damaged, for instance. So these are all kind of criteria that is very important when you choose your mode of transport. Right. To finish off the chapter, I'm not sure if we'll be able to finish it today, but let's see how far we get. We have a double period tomorrow, so I'm not concerned. We'll definitely start with new work tomorrow as well. But to finish off the chapter 10 on distribution or marketing channels, is to look at specifically two intermediaries who are usually involved in most distribution structures, and that is the retailers and the wholesalers. Now, retailers can take on the form of the types of ownership, the type of products that you are selling, where they are located, how big the market is, the type of service that they are responsible for or that they offer, and then also the relationship between different intermediaries. Now, you have firstly your types of ownership. The types of ownership could be that you have a single outlet that is an independent business, for instance, the cafe around the corner, or the spaza shop, or a butchery, for instance, or a toy shop. Those are all owned by an independent owner. It's not part of a franchise. It's not part of a retail chain. It's just that one shop. You have multiple outlets, usually our chain stores. It could be franchises. Basically, they have different branches throughout a certain geographical area, like a Pick n Pay or a Spar. These are all ShopRite. These are all examples of multiple of retailers who have multiple outlets. Then you have retailers who are owned by the manufacturers, for instance. Queen's Park, owned by Rex Trueform. Pep, their shops, they're all part of the Pepco group. And then you also have shops that's owned by the state, for instance. Those shops that you find on a military base, for instance. There won't be a Spar on a military base. There will be a shop that is owned by the South African National Defence Force, and therefore, obviously, there's a lot of saving in cost, and it is sold at different and very reduced prices from what consumers would buy in the retail outlets, and therefore people from the public can also not shop in that particular at those particular shops. It's only for people, obviously, in the employment of the South African National Defence Force. Then we have different types of products that we sell. That will depend on, that will determine what shops is classified as retail shops. It could be anything from a supermarket to a department store to a full line discount store, for instance. And it's also dependent on the variety of products that they offer. The wider variety is usually done through superstores and hypermarkets and department stores. And then you also have shops where they have limited variety. They only specialize in certain items. And therefore there will be fewer of those shops because they only stock a certain specific speciality item. You can ask me a question afterwards. Thanks, Mika. Yes. Just tell me if you want me to do that after the recording of the class is finished, or if it can be part of the recording. In other words, it's maybe relevant to more people.
Can be a part, so it's not anything personal. It's just with regards to like the module itself.
Okay, no problem at all. Well, I'll allow us a couple of minutes just before we finish.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Right. Let's look at the location. It's all just different forms of retail outlets. We have regional shopping malls, for instance. We have community centers. Again, it determines the purpose for which they are used are going to determine what particular functions they offer and how they do their business. Neighborhood centers, local centers, they are just images of all these that's available. But your location is also relevant, because if you have if you do not have a particular type of retail outlet in a certain geographical area, it would require more intensive distribution to get the products there. And when you order products, because you are maybe not on the main line of distribution, because you're in a rural area, then you have to ensure that you order, because you're not ordering as regularly, that your order need to be correct and in the correct quantities as well. Size of the market, I think we've sort of spoken about that already. But again, different types of products are going to determine the size of the market. Convenient goods, you need a very small area, or can have a very small area. That's your local cafe, for instance. When you have larger floor areas, you obviously are going to need a greater or servicing a greater market, for instance. And then obviously depending on how many competitors you have within a particular geographical area. If you have competitors very close by, for instance, then obviously a larger area is required for you to keep your products to ensure that you remain competitive with the other competitors in the market. Right. Majority of what we are doing at the moment and work that we're covering at the moment is just to expose you to retail and wholesale intermediaries in the distribution channel that we are familiar with. It's a section of the work that is most likely assessed through shorter questions and multiple choice questions. I'm not going to ask you to write the essay question based on a particular case study that covers everything that is in a distribution channel, or apply a particular distribution or design a distribution strategy for a particular business. Maybe something or format that will be required in your final year of study, where a lot of emphasis is placed on the application of your knowledge. This is just an introduction, so you can get an idea of what types of retail or what types of retail and wholesale options is available in a distribution channel. The detail is not that important to me, but it is important that you just basically have a general understanding of what each of these different types of businesses is, and to also be able to, should you be asked, is Pick n Pay a wholesaler or a retailer, for instance? And you understand what I'm getting at. So it's not necessarily work that is of utmost important for you to understand in great detail, but it's more important that you understand specific concepts. Right, types of service that's rendered. We have our self-service options. We all know that. That's where you basically go to ATM at a bank. Self-selection retailers. You basically search and compare yourselves. You basically go to different shops. You try on these shoes in this shop, go to another shop, and you try on maybe similar shoes. So you still have different. You have different choices. But you also get assistance from the people in a particular outlet, where a self-help service is not necessarily is what it is. It's basically it's like you going to a vending machine. There's nobody standing at the vending machine assisting you to help it. There's, you throw in your coins and you get product what you've selected. So there's nobody else involved. With self-selection retailing, there is some assistance from the shop that you are visiting. There are also what they call limited service retailers, where people are not necessarily, you know what bed you want to buy if you want to replace your bed. So the assistance that you get is just somebody that helps you almost after you've selected 2 or 3 choices, by sharing and comparing the different benefits of each of those choices, to assist you more than anything else, and obviously then to do the final transaction. And then you have your full service retailers, where these specialty shops. You're going to buy a wedding ring or an engagement ring. You need assistance from a specialist. So you're going to a specialist shop, and that particular retailer is going to spend a lot of time with you to ensure that you make the right choice and maybe even assist you in a design. That's part of the services that they offer. Right. Relationship between different businesses is very important. Many of these, I think, vertical marketing system, as they call it, it could be that there's corporate or contractual vertical marketing. The administered vertical marketing system is not something that is present in South Africa anymore, but you'll find that your most popular one is the contractual marketing system, where there's an agreement between different wholesalers and a particular venue, for instance, where the SPA, for instance, is the anchor tenant in a particular shopping mall, for that matter. Franchise systems we'll go into now in great detail as well. But then there are also later on in your course, in your second year, you go into franchises specifically in more detail. I'm not going to go into any detail. The information is on the screen for you to read through. It's important that you just are aware of the fact that franchising is a very popular form of business structure that is used, often chosen by retailers because of the benefits, like becoming a business owner yourself. You're buying into a line of business or an image or a brand that has a very established reputation. You're getting technical support. It's not that you, like for instance, you're buying a McDonald's franchise, you know that you're going to pay a fee for it initially to obtain the right to own that franchise. You're also going to pay a percentage on a monthly basis from all the sales that you make, but you are getting the support. There's a menu set out, there's standardization. You don't have to, you know which suppliers they prefer to use, for instance, because they're reliable. So you're buying into something that has already established reputation, and those are the less risky options to take. I had somebody said the other day that KFC at the moment are not opening new franchises in South Africa. Sometimes when businesses sell franchises in different countries, they put a limit on the amount of outlets that they are comfortable with, and they re-look at the economic situation, and that's at the moment. It's not that they're never going to open another KFC, but there's a moratorium on opening any now. I think maybe it's directly related to the state of recession that we find ourselves in globally. Right. I've sort of addressed the one on the leased department option, basically where you have a presence in a particular shopping center, for instance. Usually it's complementary brands, for instance, but then you also have your retailers who don't have office space or office. It's very often direct door-to-door salespeople. I know Kirby, for instance, top of the range vacuum cleaners. You can't buy them at a supermarket. You can't. You can. A Kirby guy comes to you and he demonstrates, and then you buy. That's as simple as. And it has worked for them for many years. One that I actually used quite a lot when I was in America was the street hawkers. Those hot dog stands or those bagel stands, whatever, you find them on every street corner. They don't have food trucks, for instance, is another example of that. They don't have a particular shop. They basically, their shop is wherever they are the next day. Right. These are just examples, again, from what I've just said. Different forms of non-shop retailers, hawkers, vending machines, internet retailing, telephone retailing, door-to-door selling. So I'm not going to spend more time on that. Wholesale intermediaries, I think just not to rush everything. I'm going to much rather just do that tomorrow and allow us now time to quickly address any questions that you might have. So I'm going to stop the session now. It's almost finished for the chapter, but we're not going to be able to finish the chapter in time. Mika, your question.
Yes, sir. So the question was just with regards to if you had an opportunity to check if our first ever quiz that we did has been released, the one that was out of 45 marks. Yeah, because we did that a long time ago. So I just wanted to know if it has been marked.
I think it has been marked, yes. I think you asked this last week, or somebody asked this last week, and I followed up. I didn't get back to you. Is it not showing? Is it not showing on Canvas yet? On your system yet? You can't access it.
Have the mark that was out of 30,
yes,
but not
not originally the first one that was out of 45.
No.
Okay. No, they're all been marked. Let me just check because I had a question just before the class as well that I need to check and follow up for Kyle as well. And I can get back to you tomorrow and give you an answer on that, and why it's not possible to see it or not. But thanks, Dana. Yeah, I see. Dana also said it's still missing. It's still not showing. Okay. I'll speak to Mrs. Kukumura, who's the person that can assist me with these technicalities. Any other questions? Anybody? Okay, Dana, we're all good. Right, enjoy the rest of the afternoon. I think the sun is slowly breaking through the clouds here in Cape Town, and we will chat again third and fourth period tomorrow. Friday times again, believe it or not, it's Friday again. Oh, geez, I don't know if I have to be thankful or anxious. But anyway, it's Friday again tomorrow. Thanks, George. I'll try my best to enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll chat again tomorrow, third period, 10:25.